I can't tell you how many sports I've played and how many coaches I had, how many weights I've lifted, how many laps I've ran. I've ran my entire life since I was 8 years old. At least
no one talks about it.
No one has talked about it. Specifically how to breathe. No one has taught me how to breathe. I just breathed and I practiced running and endurance, but I've never talked about the conversation of how to essentially breathe the correct way.
And on that, you'll notice there's a very bad habit people develop where they start breathing from their chest. Everybody, like somehow over time, we just learn to just, and then even worse through the mouth. You know what I mean? Like and that's not. Now, I know there's kind of conflicting.
I feel like that's how most people
I
breathe.
know.
People were probably like, bro, what are you talking about? I breathe like that now.
It's not. I mean, this is an ancient kind of understanding from prana vidya.
Teach me your ways.
You're supposed to, because look, if you look at the lung's kind of shaped like a triangle, right? The narrow parts at the top, the wider parts at the bottom. So obviously, if you're going to absorb more oxygen and even prana, it's going to happen from the bottom, more surface area part of the lung. Now, the diaphragm can either pull air, because as you practice, you'll realize you can choose to pull air only into the chest. You could choose to pull air only into the bottom of the lung. It's up to you, or the full thing. But if you want to fill the lung entirely, you have to pull it to the bottom first. And if you want a good experiment at home, if you fill the chest and then try to fill the bottom, it won't work. Only if you fill the bottom first and then fill the chest, it'll work. There's a sequence to this, right? Now, I understand if you kind of look at current kind of science and research on this subject, it's not very clear if it makes even a difference depending on which side you breathe from. But this is science. I understand that. And I am almost positive through time we will realize there's a different thing. But when you go to the dimension of prana and prana vidya, it makes a big difference. It makes a difference because it changes the texture of your relationship with prana. And this is also something you can experiment. Breathe through your chest, hyperventilate. You'll notice you can give yourself anxiety. If anyone's had an anxiety attack, you'll notice it's just in the top of your chest. It's very tight. It's suffocating. And as soon as you pull it to the bottom, you calm yourself. The prana calms down. The energy in your body has a different texture to it. And there's also again, not a subject we need to get into the weeds of right now. There's 5 dimensions to the prana within the body called pancha prana, right? So activating the lower section with each breath gives you a more dynamic input of prana. It gives you a better absorption process of prana. This is, again, stuff you will experience as you practice. So learning to just train yourself to calmly breathe through the bottom of the lung, breathe less. We don't need to be breathing so rapidly. Calm. The slower you breathe, the longer you'll live. That's an age-old saying. You breathe slow, your heart rate is slow, everything is calm, sympathetic nervous system, prana is in a, as we call, sattvic state. You will see transformation take place within you. It is in the nature of who you are as a human being to continuously enhance yourself spiritually, whether we realize it or not. This is a natural process that we have in the human life. We make this harder with our mind and our emotions. We create complexity.
I feel like I'm a naturally simply complex person.
We all are.
If you can help me with, say, I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers. Give me, if you can, some counts. 6 in, pause 2, out 3, in 5, pause 1.
Make it even simpler.
Awesome.
All right. Okay. So you have your lung. You can visualize your lung, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you inhale by pushing your stomach out, like, and exhale, right? Like not pulling your chest up, but pushing your stomach out when you inhale.
Forget my questions here. Simply complex. Out through. Am I breathing in my nose? Out through my mouth?
Doesn't matter for the sake of this experiment. Usually, nose is always better.
Okay.
Oh, you should always aim to breathe through your nose for a whole nother area of conversation. But if you breathe through the bottom of your lung, pushing the stomach out when you inhale. I saw your chest move. Chest moved.
It's a big chest.
Weird moment to flex on that. So
Jamie edited that out,
right.
bro.
Yeah, so we're breathing from the bottom.
Okay.
Right. So imagine you're doing a 3 count coming from the bottom of the lung. 1, 2, 3. Then you pull it into the chest. Continue inhaling. 4, 5, 6, and then that 7th, you want to completely fill capacity. Right. That's your 7th. Exhale for 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale for 14. Let it out. Take 14 seconds to get it out.
14 seconds to get it out?
Yes.
That's a long time.
I know. That's where control comes in. Because you have to jump in now, take over. Because you want to go, you want to let it out.
That's what I'm saying.
I know. Well, that's now you're not in control. You are in control when you prolong the process.
Just simply seeking to understand.
I know. So when you, I want to highlight
7
why.
7 and 14, okay.
7 in, 14 out.
Okay.
Right? Taking the 14 will take a long, and obviously as you advance in your practice, this gets crazier and crazier because then there's retentions, the antar kumbhaka, bhaya kumbhaka, like the exhale retention, inhale retention. There's many layers and dimensions, and we can get into all that maybe even in a different episode. Just for the sake of time, we don't have to get into all that because we're talking about the entry point, right?
Okay.
The entry point is bringing focus to the breathing process. Exhaling longer than the inhale is a control tool. You're learning to control because you have to hold back. You want to let it out, hold back. Easy. Jump in and take charge. Same thing. Like you're also separating, like you're creating like a wave from the bottom up to the top. This feels clunky and kind of awkward at first. And as you practice, this is called diaphragmatic breathing, by the way. Is you're breathing from the bottom of the diaphragm.
Feels like Tai Chi.
Well, Tai Chi is another practice, but Tai Chi, to do Tai Chi, you have to first understand the breathing.
I feel like there's a, I guess what I mean by Tai Chi, there's a rhythm and a dance to it. That's just kind of what I'm getting to. There's
that concept for sure.
Yes,
you're bringing awareness to the breath.
Yeah,
Tai Chi is awareness to the breath.
Always in control.
For sure.
Always in control. Movement.
Always in control. Yes. You understand prana is movement. Breathing is movement. This is also important. You're bringing your attention and focus. This is a part where we have to understand. Prana is moved by your attention.
That's okay. That's a big deal.
Big deal.
That's a huge deal.
So when you're reading something in a book, you have prana attached to this book, and it is being absorbed. The prana is the energy that gives life to this process. So directing the focus onto the prana absorption itself is doubling down on the process. That's why to understand breathing, to understand it biologically, scientifically, is one dimension. And just why we have the body itself is one dimension of the 5 different bodies we have according to yoga. But understanding it through the prana, through the directing the attention itself on the breathing is really, really enhancing this process. So again, 7 in, 14 out. Just this tool is going to train you to focus more and more on the breathing, right? And then you can also play with that, slow it down, right? It doesn't have to be deep. It could be very thin, calm, slow. Learn to play with that process, right? And then there's so many practices that can, obviously there's more enhancement. There's Anulom Vilom, which is the 2 hemispheres. There's so many things we can do.
Do you recommend sitting up, laying down? Does it matter?
I think sitting up is better.
Back straight,
because laying down,
legs crossed.
Sitting down with your legs crossed as would be a better way to start this. If you can lay down, but the problem is laying down also can bring inertia, can make you tired, sleepy. You might fall asleep. We want to be conscious. Like it's much more. It's easier to stay connected and present and conscious on something when you're up and awake. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you're able to. I mean, like I said, if you lay down, you're gonna get a little drowsy, right? I mean, then we go into another process, yoga nidra, prana nidra.
That's good. So as you're saying that, and I get laying down. So as you're sitting up, my first thought also goes to your chakras and your and the energy of that, because as your breath
energy
is going,
rises.
To your point, it starts with your prana, which also is in your root chakra, if I'm not mistaken.
Prana is in your entire body.
I'm sorry. Yes, I see your entire body, but like your sexual energy is a lot. There's a lot of energy there, which is your root chakra.
So what you're referring to right now is what they call the Kundalini energy.
Okay.
That's another whole like Pandora's box to open with conversation. So I would say for this subject, let's push that away because there's so much around that. We're misunderstandings around that as well.
Are they like cousins? Like, is this somehow? I can't even say cousins. I just throw out a word.
Let's,
cousins.
you know what? For just for the sake of
ugly neighbor.
yeah, we can call them related because it's energy, right? They're just it's different forms of energy, and Kundalini is a much more intense, vibrant form of energy that lies dormant in your system, right?
Okay.
That's kind of just to put very simply. Now, it need not be ever invoked or awakened or enhanced in any way for you to live a life. You don't have to. But if you do, it's like turning up the voltage by a large magnitude into your system. Now, why it's an area, like I don't even think it's something people should be talking about so much because it gets people excited about it. And, you know, they kind of become, without having any basic foundation, without any real understanding, especially without any proper guidance, they're trying to kind of like trigger this energy to kind of be released into the system, which is like pushing a very high voltage of electricity through wiring that cannot handle it. It's short circuit and it's gonna cause a problem in the body. Better psychologically, biologically, whatever it is.
Is this like if someone were to take too much? My first thought goes to if someone has too much estrogen or testosterone, essentially their endocrine system gets stressed out because it's too much, and essentially all of that.
In a sense, I think the
functions
best
together.
related analogy is just electricity going through circuits that are not prepared for that voltage. I think that would be the best way to understand it.
Okay, so
Because
from an energy standpoint, we shouldn't tax one system, but necessarily energy. But
Correct.
yet the energy is all. They're all different energy systems.
Yes.
Okay.
But you
Okay.
mentioned the chakra system. So like let's understand the chakra system is basically, as we know, there's the 7 points that go through the body, 6 in the body, the 7th above it.
Yes.
The chakra system is basically like, these are like the circuits. I'm going to use electricity as a kind of point of reference. These are like the circuits. Prana is the electricity, right? Now, this is flowing through. Now, it's not just the chakras. Through the body, they have something called nadis, which are kind of like the smaller wiring that are all connected to these circuits. They say 72,000 of these nadis through the body. This is what carries the prana around your body, right? This is the pranamaya kosha, the body of the prana. That's what it's made of. It's made of the nadis, it's made of the chakras, and the prana is moving through all of this.
Gotcha,
Now,
okay.
just like physically, blockages, ailments, all these things can happen within the prana. Why are we doing pranayama activities and practices and stuff like that? We want to make sure we are keeping a hygiene, a certain cleanliness, a certain hygiene, a certain flow of this prana through the system.
Clean out the hallways.
If there's areas where the prana is blocked, the prana is stagnant, or whatever thing may be going wrong, there will for sure be issues in that body. Now, whether the body had the problem first or the prana had the problem first, chicken or the egg conversation, different for everybody. Somatocytic, psychosomatic, we don't know. But the problem's there. The solution is going to be through the prana too. Like that's regardless of what came first. So to understand that this is how the prana moves through the body, then we again get more in tuned, we get a little bit more connected with what's going on in the more subtle dimensions of who we are. So that's what I'm saying, the whole kundalini process and all that.
It's a whole
those are for advanced practitioners where you have really prepared the system for something much more advanced and much more intense. And for those people, the practices are there. Usually they're able to find the proper guidance, the text. There's enough information, but for the regular person, definitely not get into all that.